What is going on, guys? This is Trainkill, and today we're going to be talking about how to level Maya in the fastest, easiest, and most efficient way possible. Now, I like efficiency a lot, especially in my normal life. I've lived by the mantra, work smarter, not harder. So I hate wasting things, whether it be time or energy or money. I just can't stand wasting things. So what I put together is a kind of like a milestone system. I don't know what I'm going to call it. I guess milestone system would be the best because we're going to talk about specific milestones that you need to kind of reevaluate your build. That way you're getting the most out of each point that you put into your character. It's all about efficiency. So at the end of this video, basically, you're going to have a level 50 build that's going to be very good in most scenarios. It's going to be extremely good for solo play, but the only thing it's not going to be good at is healing. So you're not going to be doing much healing with this build. So if you're playing in a party of 4 and you're expected to be Maya the healer, then you need to think about a different type of spec here. But we're going to be talking about those milestones. Now, the milestones are level 5, you get your action skill. 16, you get your first game changer. 31, you get your first end tree skill. At 42, you get your first end tree skill plus another game changer. And at level 50, obviously the build is complete. So those are the milestones: 5, 16, 31, 42, and 50. And I'll explain why I call them milestones here in just a second. Now, first things first, depending on how you're doing, you're going to need to level your beginning of the game however you really want. So I'm not going to be a stickler on how you level from 1 to 16. Obviously, once you get your phase lock, you've got decent sustainability with crowd control, but you might find yourself taking a little too much damage. If that's the case, I would suggest going down to the motion tree and getting ward and kinetic reflection. If you find that you're not dying a lot, you may want to come into the Harmony tree and grab Mind's Eye for the extra critical hit damage if you're playing as a close quarters combat with a shotgun, or the sniper rifle, Mind's Eye is going to be really good. And Wreck, that's going to give you fire rate and damage while you've got an enemy phase lock. That's also a decent combination. You may want to grab Sweet Release to get that extra health. If you're going to do this, though, I would recommend coming over into the motion tree. Then Cataclysm, if you've got an elemental damage gun that you like, you're probably not going to have one at level 6, so this may be a wasted point to go, or a wasted perk to go into, or skill tree, or skill, to go into. You may choose Foresight and Helios if you want that extra damage. How I like to level is sustainability. I want to stay alive as long as possible. So I go to 5 out of 5 in ward and 5 out of 5 in kinetic reflection. Again, if you find ward is enough and you don't need kinetic reflection, come on down into suspension and grab that extra phase lock duration. That's always a good choice. Now, at level 15, which is where we're at now, you got 5 points, or 5 levels before you get your phase lock, 5 in ward, and 5 in kinetic reflection. We're at 15. The next point is going to be our game changer point. That's level 16. If you are in the Harmony tree or in the Cataclysm tree at all, respec and come over and put 5 out of 5 in ward, 5 out of 5 in kinetic reflection or suspension if you find out you don't need kinetic reflection, and then put your point into Converge. Converge is going to last you a while for as far as sustainability. It's going to give you a ton of crowd control. Not only do you get to phase lock one person and lock them into place for, several seconds, but Converge also stuns everything around that enemy as it's drawing them towards you. So it's great for escaping. It's great for just kind of like popping around a corner and healing, or, doing whatever you need to do, letting your shields recharge. It's very good for pulling everything in and then, going shotgun on them, or shooting a rocket launcher, or throwing grenades. It's a very good skill early on. So at level 16, I think, obviously for solo play, res is not important at all because you can't use it. And I don't think that Cloud Kill does enough damage, especially since you're not fighting a ton of robots yet, to really make it worthwhile. So I like to go level 16 down into Converge. From there, until you get to level 30, you can do pretty much whatever you want to do. So remember, we're level 16 now. We've got 14 more points before we need to think about respeccing again. So what I like to do in this case, again, depending on how you like to play, you may be different. It's not very important on where you go until you get to level 31. I like to go into Sweet Release for that more sustainability. It's going to give me more health when I kill somebody that's phase locked. And let's face it, your phase lock's either going to be a crowd controlled person that you're trying to get out of the way while you kill everything else, or it's going to be your main target that you're trying to kill. Either way, Sweet Release is a very good addition to a Maya build, any Maya build. I then like to come down and grab 4 points in Inertia and then I like to come down. We've already spent 9, so we've got 5 more points that we can put extra points into, or points into before we have to respec. You can choose 4 out of 5 in inertia, or 5 out of 5 in inertia, and 4 out of 5 or 5 out of 5 in quicken. Now, that extra point for that 6%, it's not really all that important. So I like to go 5 out of 5 in inertia to get that bonus. Wow, my dog just shook his ears. I'm sorry about that. Then I like to go 4 out of 5 in quicken, and that is going to get us to level 30. We now have to think about where we're going to go next. So since we do not have enough points in one specific tree to get down to a 31-point talent, we're going to have to respec anyway. Now, at level 31, I like to respec to get down to Ruin. So let me pause real quick. I'll be right back. I'm going to respec and show you guys where to go from here. All right, and we are back. Now let's talk about how to get down to Ruin. Now remember, at this point, you're level 31. You're not level 1 starting, into the Cataclysm tree. We've just respec'd so that we can get down to our first in skill tree skill, or whatever you want to call that. So by this time, you're probably going to have an elemental effect gun that you're enjoying, but if you're not, like I didn't play with elemental effect guns just because I didn't use them as my primary weapon because I was a sniper. The next gun I started using was a shotgun, so I didn't use a lot of elemental effect guns. So I didn't go into Flicker at first. I went into Foresight. Now, if you want the extra elemental effect chance, then go with Flicker. Then I went down into Helios. Definitely going to need to take Helios. Grab Cloud Kill, and I like to put 4 out of 5 in Chain Reaction. Now again, if you are wanting to, at this point, go a melee close quarters combat Maya build with shotguns, you're going to need to take Flicker, you're going to need to take Immolate, and you're probably going to, or I'm sorry, not Immolate, Helios, and you're going to want to take Backdraft, as well as Cloud Kill, and then jump down into Reaper and Blight Phoenix and Ruin. But we're not going that route. We're going to assume that you're playing a normal Maya, where you're playing with SMGs or a sniper rifle or shotgun, something like that, where you're not going to be trying to go in and burn everything. So at this point, we've got our game changer. We've got 4 out of 5 in Chain Reaction. We can now start putting points into Reaper. Definite must have. Now again, here you have a choice. Again, if you're trying to go that close quarters combat, you have to have Backdraft, you have to have Flicker, and you have to have Blight Phoenix. I don't do that. I like to go 5 out of 5 in Immolate, give me a little more sustainability, because now when I die, I'm going to do more damage to those things to help me get a second wind, and then I put my point into Ruin. So now we're at level 31. Now at this point, it's not... You don't have a choice, really. If you're going to follow this build, you don't really have much freedom to do what you want to do here, because we need to get down to Converge. Now, until you get to this point, you can choose however you want, but I don't want to respec necessarily again, so I'm going to go 5 out of 5 points back into Ward, 5 out of 5 back into Kinetic Reflection, and again, 1 into Converge. Now, again, if you find out your survivability is fine and you don't need Kinetic Reflection, put those points into the duration of your phase lock, but you need to put at least 10 points into this tree so you can grab your Converge. From here on out, it's a cakewalk. Do whatever you want. I prefer to go into 5 out of 5 in Sweet Release to get that health, and then go 3 out of 5 in my suspension for my phase lock duration. And at that point, your build is complete. Now, again, understand that this right now, what you're looking at, is without having any class mods on that are going to give me bonus points in my skills. By the time you get to level 50, you're not going to have a ton of class mods that are going to add several points into your talent trees here, your skill trees. So you got to decide how you want to mold your class or this build around your specific class mod. By all means, do not follow this build to a T and then disregard any class mods, because if you find, like say you find a class mod that's going to give you 4 points in Mind's Eye, well, take 1 point out of suspension or something and put that point into Mind's Eye so you can get the bonuses out of those class mods. Remember, your class mods don't give you bonuses at all unless you have at least 1 point in that skill. So, like over here, if say I were to find a class mod that I like that has 4 points into Flicker and 3 points into Backdraft, I would have at least found somewhere, probably taking a couple points out of suspension, to at least put 1 point into flicker and 1 point into backdraft just to get the bonuses from my class mod, right? So mold this around your class mod. Now, what I'm going to do is I'm going to back out again, and I'm going to show you this same build with the Slayer of Terramorphous class mod, so you can kind of get an idea as to how class mods can greatly affect a build. Alright, so we are back with the Slayer of Terramorphous class mod on. Now, the first thing I want you to notice is that Ward, Accelerate, Mind's Eye, Sweet Release, and Flicker all have blue lines around them. That means that those are the skills that are affected by your class mod. The Slayer of Terramorphous class mods adds a +4 to 5 different skills. So you can see that with the +4 in these skills, I'm still not gaining any benefit from them. I want to put 5 out of 5 into Foresight. So I've got 5 points here. But I still don't have anything in Flicker because I haven't added 1 point to it yet. Now, what I'm going to do is I'm going to add 1 point here. Bam, we get 5 out of 5. 1 point, 1 point, 1 point, 1 point. So we've got 5 out of 5 in 5 talents or skills with only putting a 5-point investment in. So we get 25 points for the cost of 5. That's a pretty damn good investment if you ask me. That is efficiency, my friends. The next thing we're going to do is move into Helios, grab 5 out of 5 there, go 1 into Cloud Kill. You can put points into Chain Reaction until you actually get down to Reaper. Put 5 out of 5 into Reaper. We can't get to our Ruin yet, so now we've got to decide where we want to put these points. I'm going to spend them in Immolate because I like the survivability of it when you're playing solo, and then 1 into Ruin. Now, we used to come over here and put 5 out of 5 in Sweet Release, but we're not going to because we've already got 5 out of 5 in it. I'm going to fill this out until we can get down to our next tier. So we've got 8 out of 5 in Ward, which gives you a 40% boost in your shield capacity and a 64% reduction in your recharge delay, which is just crazy. 5 out of 5 back in Kinetic Reflection, and we've got 1 in Converge. Now, at this point, last time we had 8 skills left, but we don't need to spend those 8 points, or I'm sorry, 8 points left. We don't need to spend those 8 points into Sweet Release because we already have it. So after Sweet Release, we only had 3 points left. Well, now we have 6. So we've still gained the ability to be a little more, I guess, a little more efficient with our points. I keep going back and using the word efficient even though I don't mean to. So I'm going to grab a few points into Suspension until I can get down into Quicken, and then I'm going to throw a couple points into Quicken. That's going to increase the duration of my phase lock and let me phase lock longer. That is how I would build this character out. Now, we did lose Inertia because we don't need it anymore because we've got 5 out of 5 in Mind's Eye, we've got 5 out of 5 in Accelerate, and we've got 5 out of 5 in Flicker, as well as the rest of our build that we already had, plus we gained a point in Suspension and a couple points into Quicken. So this is how I would build the class out with the Slayer of Terramorphous class mod. So you kind of understand how you want to build around the class mods that you're using. If you find a good class mod that fits your style, then build your class around it, but keep the kind of like the bones of the initial idea of the class built around that class mod as well. So it takes some getting used to build a character around a class mod, but as long as you have the bones of what you had originally, plus 1 point in at least into each of those abilities, then you're going to be golden. Now, if you do find a class mod that, like I have a Reaper class mod that gives me an extra 4 points in, or 5 points in Reaper. So if I was going to go a sniper build, I would definitely use that one, but instead of putting 1 point here to have 6 out of 5, I'd put 5 points in here, so I got 10 out of 5, and I would do a shit ton of damage, an 80% damage buff when they're above 50% health. So there are certain skills that you just want to put the 1 point in to get them just because you can, and there are certain skills that you want to just max out as much as you can to get the most benefit out of that skill. Like say, actually Sweet Release is a decent one because if you get, I think it's 8 points in Sweet Release, by the time you kill somebody that's phase locked, you regen 100% of your health from that Sweet Release. So that's not a bad idea to try to get an extra few points into Sweet Release. There's another one, Kinetic Reflection. By the time you get 10 points into Kinetic Reflection, you have a 100% damage reduction from the bullets that hit you, and they deflect for 200% while you still have a 100% deflection chance. So every normal bullet that's shot at you, you don't take damage from. So there are certain skills that you actually get a benefit from maxing them out. But you guys get the picture. So if you have any questions on this build, or you want to change it, or you want to recommend another skill, then do so in the comment sections below. I'll do my best to answer any questions I can and comment on any of the ideas that you guys may have. And yeah, until next time, guys, I'm going to start working on a Roland build, and I'll get that out so you guys can actually have a Roland leveling guide for when you want to play your, I'm sorry, I said Roland. Axton is who I meant, obviously. I'm going to put out an Axton build so you guys have have a leveling guide for Axton, so when you want to play your Axton character, you will be able to fly through the game as easily as I did with Maya. So again, guys, any questions or comments, leave them in the comment section below, and until next time, I'll see you later. Thanks, guys. Bye.